A JudgeMagistR there was.
Greetings everyone, this is JudgeMagistR, and for today's Speedrun 101 episode we're gonna be focusing on Devourer. For most speedrunners, this boss is pretty chill to be fought against, but still there are some speedrun strategies of which speedrunners could be unaware of. And for today's guide, I will uncover all of these strats, backups and recoveries, as well a new speedrun discovery by myself and tactiic. This is the table of content on the things I'll be going through this video, and without any further delays, let's jump straight into it. First and foremost, we'll begin with the intentional ways of climbing, and as for the Devourer, there are 3 intentional methods of which you can climb on it. The first one will be harnessing the energy into the metal structure. There are 3 of them and they serve for the 4th pad that needs to be pressed so we can put Devourer into a temporary sleep state. Once it's pressed, rush your way towards Devourer and ring the bells. As for the second one, there will be a moment of which Devourer will charge a powerful blast to strike the player. While charging, use your bow and arrow to interrupt the Devourer, and that will also stun the boss for some seconds. Now for the third method will be grappling at the single hook spot of which Devourer has. Devourer has this consistent behavior that his next course of action will most likely be polluting the air for absolutely no reason. In the meantime that he's doing that, you can grapple yourself at one of the structures of the lake and then aim at the grappling hook spot until the green marker appears. I can't say for certain if this is truly an intentional method, however this could serve as a backup strategy in case you don't have a bow and arrow at your disposal. And now this is the moment of where I talk about the shaking variations, and Devourer doesn't really have any variations, only a single shake type, and the shake in question affects his entire body. The shake is also often triggered once you ring any of the bells, but there are times that it is done by its own volition, and in this particular case it seems only to affect near the bell sigils. As for the smooth traversals, that's where the challenge from this boss comes in, mostly due to the fact that Devourer is a stationary boss, and also because Devourer has only a single hook spot of which we can grapple onto. Thankfully, there are many ways to save time, but first you must learn the speedrun ways of the any % approach, as well the Echo Mode speedrun methods to make your speedrun attempt against Devourer smooth enough. So let's begin with the any % method first. Most of the bosses from this game can have a checkpoint set from the player themselves. Lucky for us, Devourer's arena is surrounded by big mountains, and we can set these mountains as a checkpoint to launch ourselves straight to the boss itself, as well as skipping all the puzzle steps. And here's how that can be done. Once you're sent to the hub area after defeating any boss, you must leave from a high point to the northeast. There are some hook spots that hasten the process to reach one of the tall pillars located at the hub area. Once you reach said pillar, you can keep gliding northeast until you reach near the lesser Devourer puzzle. I'll keep the footage running to give you more of a visual reference. Once you reach the mountains, you can jump off while facing the lake, and that's where Devourer is located. It is safe to jump off while gliding since this cutscene in particular does lock the character at your latest position. For the any %, I recommend you starting with the lower sigil, since you can already land on it as soon Devourer rises from the lake. Once you unbind the lower sigil, you can drop off and wait until Devourer stops shaking to grapple yourself at the hook spot above you. There are 2 sigils near said hook spot, but I do recommend going to the right one first because the remaining sigil can be easily reached once you land on this platform, which allows you to run instead of climbing your way to it. Now for the Echo Mode, there are some alternatives that can be made. The first one will be going the second intentional way of climbing, of which I mentioned before. The only problem with this method is that it seems to be RNG based on Devourer's behavior. The idea is not to stand still and keep running around until Devourer charges the blast. Another thing I recommend is not to run too far from the lake, because eventually you will need to grapple at one of the platforms from there after you stun the boss. In my own speedrun attempts against Devourer, the only way I managed to make Devourer charge the blast sooner was to get at this specific spot after he shoots me about 6 times. Now the 7th shot could be the charge the blast instead, granting you the chance to strike back, and once you stun it, grapple at one of the platforms from the lake, and then grapple at the single hook spot of which Devourer has. That's when the sigil unbind order changes from the any % method. I recommend you to start with the one from the right. Once you're done with it, leap sideways to the platform at the right, which will lead you to the tallest bell sigil. You can make a smooth traversal to the lower sigil by using a physics manipulation from Devourer's shake. but this method is too advanced and more prone to failure. So if you want a safer approach, I recommend just waiting for the shaking to cease and then step down by either jumping or by grabbing the foot and letting go until you reach the lower sigil. And now, we can finally talk about this particular speedrun tech exclusively to Echo Mode. The concept of it was around since the early access days when I made Krogan's Echo Mode run, but Devourer was indeed the eye-opener, as well tactiic for pointing out to me. To make it simple to understand, the speedrun strats allows us to make the puzzle from some bosses before even the fight begins. And then once you begin the fight on the petrified corpses or the former save shrines, the fight itself will basically be 50% done, allowing us to rush straight to the bosses instead. Doing some testing, I realized that the strat works successfully for bosses like Krogan, Thrall, and of course the Devourer. Now the 1.0 update allows us to make Devourer's puzzle beforehand thanks to the soul arrow. Although the description from it's a no, they share almost the same properties as the blasts from Devourer himself, and because of that, it allows us to harness the energy on the globe metal structure. In case you don't have them, I made a map highlighting where they are, as well as the explosive arrows in case the speedrunners need them. If you haven't really explored the game or hasn't found all the chunks of the map, I made another guide highlighting every single location of these map chunks. You can find all of that in the description down below. Now back to the Devourer strat, there are two problems with it. The first one is that there are only 2 soul arrows in the world, or at least of what I'm aware of. But lucky for us, all of the items in the overworld spawns back after 2 hours or more of playtime, so I recommend manual saving right before the entrance to get some extra soul arrows. Once you have the arrows, make your way back to Devourer's arena. Another really important advice I have for speedrunners here is to manual save before you waste your arrows on the metal globe structures. The reason for this is that if you kill Devourer or exit Echo Mode, the puzzle will reset and then you won't be able to make the puzzle again unless you get the necessary amount of soul arrows to do it again, so just save it before you waste them. I also recommend saving at one of the pads to hasten the process of doing all of the puzzle again in case you have to retry the fight. Once you've got all of that set up, all you have to do is simply run at the 4th pad to stun Devourer, and the rest is just the same as you learned previously. This is everything you need to know to improve your speedrun attempts against Devourer on any of the speedrun modes. If you have any questions or doubts regarding this guide or any other, make sure to drop a comment or join the Pray for the Gods speedrunning server, which you can find in the description down below or in the comments. I hope everyone is having a great day, and I see you in the next Speedrun 101 episode.